Robert. Did you just write that?
Yeah, just a couple hours ago.
Seriously? Oh, because he called and asked me what I was going to talk about, and he just gave my talk and his song. So, I want to bring the memorial candle forward and light it this morning in memoriam for all those people in the Philippines who are coming back from, Jim says, the worst storm ever on the planet. So let's just take one moment to just send our love and energy, goodwill, peace, blessings out to the thousands and thousands of people who have lost their lives, and the thousands and thousands more who have lost their families, and to the thousands who will have to rebuild. We send all that God has, which is everything, to them. And know that life is a continuing upward spiral of evolution, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, and that each precious person there is on their own path of the spiral, and we just bless that path for them. And please say with me 3 times, there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. Carol Brickley today brought us flowers and in honor of Jo Lindauer, who is our oldest member. She's 80 today, and I have a card that I'm going to, if Mary could come and get this, that I'm going to pass around if you just sign. She lives in Fair Acres, and she can't come to church anymore, but Carol wanted to make sure she was remembered. And, let's see, Jim, could you do me a favor and pull this chair up here? You know, I don't know if you know this, but I have had foot surgery, and I still can't stand on it that long, so I may have to sit down after a while. Thank you. And, Mary, could I have a glass of water? Let's talk about a princess. What else do I need? A crown, that's right. So,
there's a hat behind you.
Oh, yeah. Get that hat out of here. So, I went to a party on Friday night, and we had to come dressed as who we wanted to be when we grew up. And who I wanted to be was an actress, famous, winning many awards. So I wore this, I found at a thrift store, this fabulous sparkly gold gown, and I brought my Oscar and did all that. But the poor person sitting next to me took the little sparkles home, and the restaurant got sparkles everywhere, and I still have sparkles in my hair and on my face. This was 2 days ago. I mean, Jim says it's going to take many more showers to get those sparkles out. But this morning I got in the car, and the whole seatbelt was sparkled. And Jim says, Jana, I had gold sparkles on the bottom of my feet this morning. So, but my friend Chris says, if you're going to be something, be sparkly. So, today we're going to talk about mobility, strength, and flexibility. Those are 3 things that I lost when I had this surgery, and it really made me value and understand how important mobility, flexibility, and strength are to our physical well-being, to the lifestyle, quality of life that we want to live. And then I took it even farther, because we don't just need flexibility and mobility and strength in our body, we need it in our mind. We need it in our heart, we need it in our soul, we need it in our spirit. Thanks so much, Mary. Yep. So that's what I want to talk about today. And I love teaching the practitioner class. I have a new class of students starting. And one of the reasons why is that going over that curriculum over and over again makes me a better spiritual counselor. And I get to read all the wonderful curriculum that they designed for this class and the books that they assigned us to read. And what we're reading right now is Joel Goldsmith, Practicing the Presence. Joel had a system or a faith and a philosophy and a way of life he called the infinite way. And what he says in the Practicing the Presence is God is working its life as our life. Our life is God's life unfolding individually. And Ernest Holmes, who wrote the Science of Mind textbook, says, perfect God within me. This is our prayer. Perfect God within me, perfect life within me, come forth into expression through me. So if we could actually grasp that fact that we are an individualized expression of the universe, the power, the creative force that made the pluriverses, and we right here in this moment, on this planet, in this body, are individualized expressions of that great thing, which means that all that it has, all that it does, all that it embodies is ours to have, to embody. We create just the way it creates, with our word and with our thoughts. And so that's a pretty holy place to be, that our life is the life of God living itself through us. And so we are showing God in our own unique way how the world is. So Spirit sees the world through our eyes. And all of you see how Spirit expresses through me. And I see how Spirit expresses through you. And it's all different. And it's all meant to be that way. And when we're really at the top of our game, we see that in each other. So, this is from Richard Wagner, a German composer who said this a long time ago. I am convinced that there are universal currents of divine thought vibrating in the ether everywhere, and that any who can feel these vibrations is inspired. Long time ago thinking, right now thought. So the short version of that is, name it, it is. If we can name something, it has to be so, because it's already in the ether around us. And I always say this about Jesus, that I think he was so in tune with his unity that he saw all possibilities shimmering in the molecules of the air around him, so that he didn't have to say, get better, or I command you to be well. He said, you are. Health is here right now, and you are that. And they were healed. And as a matter of fact, what he said in Aramaic was eth fatah, which means be returned to unity. So he was just bringing them into the vibration, those ether-like vibrations that contain all potential. And here's my story about that. This is not like the proudest part of my life, but in my 30s I was addicted to cocaine and meth. And I got over those addictions, and I would hear people say that some famous movie star got addicted to pain medications and they went to rehab to get over it, and I would think, you know, let me tell my story, sister. You know, that's nothing. But it turns out that with this foot surgery, I was on morphine, and I had to withdraw from that, and it is the hardest thing I have ever done. Everything else seems easy by comparison. And so on one of these withdrawal days, it so happened, it just started, my body started, I could not control it, my body just started doing this all the time. And I was crying all day long, and I was thinking terrible thoughts, and poor Jim came home, and I was a mess on the couch, you know, and it's hard for him to come home after a long day of work and find me like, but, so he said, you can't just stop it, you have to wean off of it. And so he said, you need to take something because you can't go on like this. So I said, well, he said, take a half of a pill before you go to bed, at least so you can sleep. And I thought, I don't want to take a half a pill. I want to get this out of my system as fast as possible, but I'll take a quarter. So I took a quarter of a pill, and sure enough, I went to sleep right away. Woke up an hour later, doing this again, you know, shaking. And I thought, I'm just going to take that last quarter. It's sitting on my nightstand. I'm going to take that quarter. And literally, as soon as I thought that, my body went, it's like every nerve in my body was like, yeah, 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 yeah. And I got a complete hot flash. I actually had to sit up out of bed. I was so hot and burning, flaming. And I thought, well, that's weird. So I calmed down, cooled down, laid down again, and thought, could that possibly have been my thought that made that happen to my body? I mean, really? Could that be so? And so I thought it again. I think I'll take that pill. Boom. my whole body caught on fire. It's like everything in me was going, yeah, 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 yeah. And because I'm a glutton for punishment, I did 3 more times, just to see if that was really true. And it was. And I began to think, if we are the microcosm of the great macrocosm, if how we create and live our life is a mirror of how the great Creator makes life, if one thought turned my body into a mass of vibration, then what is out there in the ether waiting for us? Imagine this. The entire universe, more than we can imagine, has its nerve endings ready to say, yeah, 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 to us. And so we have to think about what we're going to think about. Seriously. If we're going to use that power for good in our life, we have to think about what we're thinking about. Because the universe responds to our most dominant thought. You know, the universe, these little, they're all out there in the atmosphere waiting for our thought. They say yes to everything. So if we say life is awful, it's not fair, I never get my fair share, everything always happens to me, what happens? That's exactly what we get, right? When we say life is great, I'm abundant, this is a perfect day, what happens? We have a perfect day. Because the universe is saying yes, 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 yes. But if we say, I am abundant, my checkbook looks terrible, everything is great in life, but it's not fair to me. The universe is saying yes to all of these things, but there's no dominant thought to follow. So our life looks kind of muddled. And we've all been in that place, where we're kind of in that muddy place. So we want to find a line of dominant thinking that leads to what we want in life. And Hazrat Inayat Khan, the great Sufi teacher, said, the more elevated the soul, the broader the outlook. So we have to elevate our soul. We can only speak our word from the highest place. That's where we want to speak our word from. Because if that thing is out there just waiting for us, just waiting to say yes to us, we want to speak from here, not from here. And so how do we elevate our soul? How do we elevate our thoughts? How do we bring ourselves up to the place where we are speaking our word from our highest consciousness? I think it's simple. It's gratitude. When you start speaking your gratitude, things start lightening up and lifting up. I know you've had that experience. Albert Einstein said that you can't solve a problem at the level of mind that created it. Well, our prayers are answered at the level they are prayed. So imagine if you're half-heartedly praying. Imagine if you're praying without believing. Imagine if you haven't lifted yourself up to that high place. There are those vibrations saying yes, yes, yes. And so we want to get to the pinnacle so that it says yes, yes, yes to our highest good. Now I have this story, and I've told it many times here, but it totally bears repeating in this talk. Jim and I were newlyweds, or soon thereafter, and you know, that first year of marriage is hard. And he'll tell you that too. And we had gotten to a place where it was sort of, you know, it just happens in relationships. You have dips, and we were in a dip. And we thought the best way to get out of that dip was to meditate before we went to bed together and pray, just sitting up in bed. And so the first night we sat up, we did our meditation, and then Jim leaned over to me and said, "You say the prayer." And I, in my kindest, most loving voice, said, "Why do I have to say the prayer? I always say the prayer. Just because I'm the practitioner of the family doesn't mean I have to pray. You say the prayer." And he's still married to me. So he did. There was kind of some silence. And the truth was, we were kind of in a bad place, and I didn't know where to start with that prayer. So Jim started, and he started with gratitude. He said, "You know, thank you so much for this warm bed that we're in, and this house that surrounds us, and the food in the refrigerator, and the car that runs in the garage, and the job that we have to go to, and our puppies who we love," and on and on and on he went. until he had lifted, I could feel the mood lift. He had lifted both of us out of that place. And he was now at that higher place to begin to pray. And when you're at that higher place, you don't have to beg. You don't have to beseech. You don't even have to say, I am abundant, or I am, we have a loving relationship. What we say is love is. Love is the truth of the universe, and that is what I am, because I am part of that. And so love is the truth between us. We don't have to effort to get it. We don't have to do any ritual to have that be so. It is, and we are. That's the highest prayer. It is, I am. So, Joel Goldsmith also said in his fabulous book, "Thy grace is my sufficiency." Now, that's hard for us to read sometimes when we talk about God as thy, because doesn't that sound like that's somewhere else? It's me and God. But there is no me and God. There is us together, us as one. So we could say, my grace is my sufficiency. And what is grace but gratitude? What is grace but the fact that we have lifted ourselves up to that high level? And when we are at that high level, and we are operating from that space, where we know that those things are just waiting to say yes to us in the air all around us, then everything is given to us, and our life is sufficient. Everything in our life is sufficient. So my grace is my sufficiency. My consciousness at this high level, where I have moved my consciousness up, that mobility, strength, and flexibility, I have let those things move me up to that high place, and everything is sufficient to me. So, my friend Priscilla puts it like this: until further notice, celebrate everything. Right? Until further notice, be grateful for everything. That's my challenge for you this week, is to be grateful for everything. Is to see places everywhere that you could feel gratitude. There's that little story about the boy who gets a room full of manure, and he starts digging excitedly in the manure, and they're like, what are you doing? He's like, with this much poop in here, there must be a pony. So I want you to look for the pony this week. Because if you can't just be in gratitude, maybe you have to go through a little to find it. But be there. So I want you this week to think about what you're going to think about. To find the pony. To be grateful. To remember to name it. And it is so. And this is what I really want you to remember. That you are the individualized expression of the life of God here on earth, made manifest here on earth to bring about the glory of God on earth through what you do. So be majestic. Be majestic this week. Those things to pass out are in my purse in Barb's office. How I always like to give you a little thing where before you go to remind you of the week. Well, I have little stickers that say, name it, it is. I want you to put that somewhere where you can remember. Name from the highest place. Name from the most majestic thought you can have. Name from your highest good, and it is so, and given unto you. And so it is. Who would like to have prayer? There we go, everybody. So just allow yourself for one moment to just be in that place. Just be in that place where we are dwelling with the Most High, knowing that there is only this one life. There's only one heart, mind, soul, spirit. It is God, it is Buddha, Allah, Jehovah, Adonai, whatever we call it, it is. And because it is all there is and nothing opposes it, then we are part of it, and we are contained within it, and it is living itself through us in this very moment. And as we realize those two things, those two simple things, God is, we are part of it, our life demonstrates to us just like that. And so what I know for each one of us here today, that we take this message out into our lives, that we speak our word from the highest place, that we elevate our